In today's episode, I'm bringing back a favorite guest of mine from my original podcast, which was formerly known as Move Forward Anyway, self-publishing school founder Chandler Bolt. He reminds us in this discussion that chasing after a dream is a roller coaster. It is not whether you will encounter gut-punching hardships along the way. It's only a matter of when. Chandler reminds us how crucial it is to be prepared for these moments by constantly recalling your why and your who, so that when the challenges do emerge, you will have the motivation to take on the challenge and keep going. That's all coming up next, right here on Stop Doubting Your Dream. Stay tuned. If you have a deep-rooted dream you long to pursue but feel held back by self-doubt, the possibility of failure, and the relentless demands of everyday life, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jeff Meyer, and I know that taking the leap of faith to make your dream a reality and overcome the seeds of doubt planted by those who say it's too risky can feel overwhelming and discouraging sometimes, and cause you to question whether or not your dream is worth pursuing at all. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be an either-or choice. It's possible to pursue your dream without risking your stability or security in the process. And each week on the show, I'm going to show you and give you practical action steps you need to turn your dream into a viable source of income so you can live without regret, reshape your future, and create the meaningful change you want to see in the world, all without leaving your day job. So if you're someone who's ready to stop doubting your dream and start living it, let's dive in. Welcome back. This is episode number 71, and I am so excited to share this favorite episode with you again. Even if you're going to listen to this and another time or two, I've listened to it probably 10 different times, and I catch something helpful every single time. So enjoy it. I met Chandler Bolt in an entrepreneurship retreat for authors in Philadelphia. And it was given and produced for authors who wanted to use their book to start a business. His awesome company is actually changing the world. You'll hear him talk about that vision through books. Since their beginning in 2015, Self-Publishing School has published over 7,000 books, with over 150 million books in print, 250,000 community members, and they've published in over 91 countries. What I learned this time, listening again to this conversation with Chandler, two things I want to point out before we jump in and let you listen. Number one, more opportunities to learn from challenges than with wins. There are more opportunities to learn from the challenges that we face than the wins. We learn by doing, and we learn by struggling, and we learn by adapting and doing it again. And then the second thing is, he just reminds us to just make progress. Take a step. The timing will never be right. You're going to have to start before you're ready. Welcome back, fellow successful dreamers. It is good to be with you again. Today, I am ecstatic to be with my brother and friend I met in Philadelphia 3 years ago, Chandler Bolt. Thank you so much, Chandler, for being here. I want to give a little bit of a precursor here. This is going to be a great conversation for any entrepreneur, but especially for those of you who are struggling to want to publish a book and get that book out into the world. Chandler is largely responsible for the publishing of my first book, Fear Not, Dream Big, and Execute, through Self-Publishing School, which he founded and owns. And it is a legendary tool, the best tool out there for anybody who wants to do any self-publishing. So pay attention, jump on the call here with us, and enjoy the conversation. Chandler, thanks so much for being with us. First of all, sorry about the Clemson football season. But like you said before our conversation today, man, it can't be too bad of a bummer when you're kind of reeling after a 10-win season in college football.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much for having me here. And I trust in Davo. That guy, I've learned more about leadership from him, that guy, than anyone. And so it's cool to see him navigate. I think there's good parallels it's cool to see him navigate the challenges, whereas I navigate my own challenges in business.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And so I think a lot of times there's more opportunity to learn from the challenges than there are from the wins. And that's where you really get shaped. So I think on his side, but then also on my side.
Awesome. So you're joining us today from the great state of Texas. And you have been leading self-publishing school for how many years now?
We launched self-publishing school in February 2015. So
2015.
Yeah, we've published about 6,000 books since then. We've been on the Inc. 5000 list last few years in a row. We're on a mission to change lives through books, as you know, Jeff. And
doing it.
Changing the lives of readers who read the books, because I think everyone watching or listening to this has probably had their life changed by a book, by reading a book. But then also we always say it's not about the book, it's about who you become in the process of writing and publishing that book. And so you've seen that, Jeff, of just kind of like the lessons that you've learned, the skill sets that you learned, the impact that's had on your life and your business and kind of across the board.
And how I've stacked those lessons now for my Dream Accelerator since 2018, being with you in the Elite Business Institute in Philly. And helping me think that it's more than just writing a book. I've always said, I was actually reticent to writing a book because I was like, books are not it. What's it is applying the lessons in the books, right? So since 2015, tell me what happened, what was going on in your life in 2015 where you got this crazy idea to start something new and to chase a dream of self-publishing school. Tell me about the genesis story of self-publishing school.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a bunch of kind of nudges along the way. I mean, for me, I went to school at College of Charleston, and I went to school to learn how to run a business. I ran businesses in high school and in college. Pretty quickly I discovered I'm learning how to run a business from professors who have never ran businesses. And that didn't make sense. I dropped out. And then when I dropped out, I said, all right, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go start a company. And kind of along that way, I wrote and published a couple books as I was dropping out. They did decently well. And then people just started asking about it. And so I was working on a business at the time that was just totally failing. And meanwhile, people kept asking about the book stuff. Said, hey, how are you doing this? And I'd get on the phone with them for an hour and just teach them everything I knew for free, just to be a nice person, and say, hey, here you go, do this, hope it helps. And then after a while, it's, the market speaks and it's your job to listen. And so, you can only get smacked in the face so many times for you turn around and look and listen. And there was a line of people that said, I want to learn this. And so that led to us launching self-publishing school, or what ultimately became self-publishing school. And we had, I think in our first cohort, we had 44 students. And I think it was maybe over 60% of those folks wrote and published a book in less than 6 months, if I'm remembering correctly. And so then that for me was a big, that's just a crazy success rate. And so then I said, this works. I can help other people do this. Let's build and let's scale and let's go help more people. And so then that kind of catapulted or slingshot into a lot of the other stuff that we're doing at SBS.
So there's a lot of principles in there. What in your answer you just shared about starting and growing a dream or a business. Those of you who are listening, you have this dream, there's a gap in the world, and you can make a difference in it. You're thinking about growing it. Talk to me about the principles you just said. So there's the market speaking, paying attention to it. There's the testing, or what we call the MVP, right? Minimally viable product, getting it out there. And then you start to see, yeah, this actually works. And then there's the scaling and the multiplying and the building of the business.
Yeah. So there's so many different things there. So, and I talk about this. So as you know, I just launched a new book, published. It was the second edition of my most popular book of all time. And the first edition sold, 100,000 plus copies. And then the second edition's even better, but there's 2 or 3 concepts that you just mentioned, that I talk about in here. One is, you've heard me talk about this at the Elite Business Intensive, is sell then build. And so the importance of people vote with their wallets on what they want. They'll tell you what they want, but that isn't always what they actually want. And so sell then build when it comes to building a business, when it comes to building a product. I talk about it in the book, but it's until you have sales, you don't have a business, you have a business idea. And so that is really the catalyst. And so, kind of like you said there, and then the MVP, building out your minimum viable product, which I think this is some ways, I didn't call it this at the time, but now I've kind of articulated this as there's 2 types of launches. So there's the MVP launch, and then there's the traditional launch. And so the MVP is exactly what you're saying, the minimum viable product. And so how do you take the resource that you have and launch something so that you can then help people and get feedback and get paying customers? And then the cycle starts. A lot of people look at that as the end point where I'm going to launch it. And then that is kind of like the finish line, but really, no, that's the starting line and then that rolls into a lot of stuff we teach about the 1-year launch. So it's like what it looks like to continue promoting your book and build long-term momentum and success with the book.
One thing I find a lot with our clients is that they wait until they have everything lined up and perfected before they launch. And that is not what we should be doing, because someone might not ever buy that.
Agreed. Yeah. Sell then build. And this is not just me coming down from the mountaintop with the 10 commandments. This is really, like, I learned this by doing it. My very first product, this is the business I was failing at, I was talking about, is I tried to do everything ahead of time, built this amazing funnel, invested all this money, recorded all these videos, tried to do this online course that was on the back of my first book, and no one wanted it. To this day, I don't know if it sold a single copy. But then we said, that's when we slung into the other. We said, all right, I learned this concept of selling then building from a mentor of mine at the time. And so that's when we said, with self-publishing school, we're just going to go the complete opposite. And we are not going to build this until people pay and say that they want it. And then they're going to tell us what they want built, which will make for a better product. It will make for a better experience. It's something that's customized to their needs. So it's better for them. I think a lot of times people get in their head, they think, well, hold up, isn't that like a scam? You're selling something that you don't even have. And no, it's the exact opposite. That helps you create a better product and a better experience for those customers, which leads to raving fans, lifetime customers, referrals, all that stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. So a lot of times when people are listening to this podcast, they're listening to people that have had some level of success in pursuing their dream. You obviously have had some level of success, a lot of success, actually. And so there's a temptation for the listener to think that it's always been easy. It's just kind of come to you, like there's been no challenges. So talk to me a little bit about the challenges that have come up that have, kind of gotten you to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I think I ought to just scrap this and do something else or whatever. And how did you move forward anyway? That's the name of the podcast. Through those challenges, through those fears. Share some of your fears, some of your obstacles that you've faced in the last 6 years.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jeff, because I think it's so easy to glamorize entrepreneurship, and as a society we do. And it's just a highlight reel. And what you don't see is it's a roller coaster. And so I would say leadership and entrepreneurship, because I think sometimes people say this is just for leadership when it's really both. It's it's just for entrepreneurship when it's leadership and entrepreneurship. They're very similar in this way. And there's kind of two metaphors that I use. One is that it is a spotlight on all of your flaws. And so if you've got flaws or insecurities or things that you suck at, it is going to be a spotlight. And so that is both the greatest gift and one of the hardest burdens ever. Because, not many people come to the CEO to tell them how awesome they're doing. They come to the CEO to tell them what's wrong and what needs fixed. And so it can feel like, and I feel like this all the time, that it's just a never ending string of problems. And just people come to you with things that are broken, things that they think you need to do better, things that you're bad at, and a lot of it's true. I mean, but that's your job. And so it's a spotlight on your flaws, but the blessing in that is that it is I think one of the greatest vehicles for personal development and self-improvement. I mean, you have to get better. Otherwise your business will not grow, and your personal growth is kind of in a lot of ways it's a governor on the speed of success that you have or the growth of your company is your personal development. And so that's the first analogy I use. And the second one is is that entrepreneurship is kind of like being up against the ropes in a boxing ring and just being repeatedly kicked in the crotch. I mean, it is just
pummeled, man.
It's just over and over and over again. And so that's, I mean, I'm using metaphors and not so much personal experience, but I've got so many examples of this. It's business partner trying to kick me out of the business. It's starting over. It's going multiple six figures in debt to buy out my business partner and borrowing out of my parents' retirement to do that. And it's just so many times along the journey where you think, gosh, is this worth it? It's having it, then scaling and having a big staff and all these expenses. And for either months in a row, or I think there was maybe a couple months one time where it was like we lost money 2 months in a row, or maybe it was 1 month and we just lost like $15,000 or $20,000 in a month. And I just remember thinking, having this realization, I was like, literally, if I would have done nothing for all month, I would have more money.
I would have more money
trying to make this business work. I'm 15, 20 grand in the hole. I would have been better off doing nothing. And of course, that's not true. That's a short snapshot in time of results and outcomes, which are not the leading indicators. But I mean, those are a couple metaphors and a few examples.
Man, that is so true. Like I would be in such better spot if I would have never started. That phrase hits me all the time. I would have been so much better if I would have just never written the book and never started. And I'm a local pastor, so I can fall back on my full-time pastor thing. I mean, my work is connected with what I do as a pastor because I believe everybody is a co-creator with God. So I want to help them do that. And I could have in fact, the church, a lot of people just tell me, just stay in your lane, bro. Just like, why can't you just be a pastor? Well, that's not the way God wired me. So there's this ongoing tension that I appreciate you acknowledging and stating. So how do you move forward anyway? Who are the people? What are the methodologies that keep you going?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a few things. I mean, I think it starts with surrounding yourself with people who will are in your corner and encourage you. So it's surrounded by great people. And there was a time when I was going through the whole thing with my business partner, and we've got mediator and we're going through negotiations and like all this stuff. And there were 3 people. It was an employee, a wife of one of my employees, and then my mom, who they rotated every day. They would send me a scripture or a video or something inspiring, just say, hey, you've got this. And so that was huge, because that was one of the lowest moments for me, and they coordinated it and said, all right, we're going to rotate days. And I didn't even know this, I think, till after it kind of happened. But and so that type of thing, I mean, that's just so helpful and valuable. And then and so a support system and people who not only will encourage you, but will challenge you and call you to the mat and say, hey, we're not letting you get out this easy. You need to step up. And this is, and so I think that's a big one. And then the other piece I would say is just reflecting on why you're doing this. And so deep, I mean, it's a very generic advice, but it doesn't mean it's not helpful. Yeah, right. which is reconnect with why are you doing this? I mean, this is one of the first things we teach in self-publishing school, and it's literally the first chapter of, well, I guess it's the second chapter, is looking for why. The first chapter is books change lives, but the second chapter is looking for why, and it talks about, hey, let's begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey would say, and why are you doing this? Because this is going to get hard. Yes. And so whether it's writing a book, whether it's running a business, like it's not a matter of if. Good news. If you're wondering, if you're worried and stressed about if it'll get hard, good news.
You don't have to worry about it.
Worry not.
Worry not, because it is.
It's going to. So it's an inevitability. And sometimes I think there's some peace in that, of knowing that, hey, it's coming and it's my job to be equipped for when it does come.
Yeah. We talk about remember your why and remember your who. Mm-hmm. I think of those original people that were stacked behind you, that were looking for that hour free. Tell me how to do this. Tell me how to have those people in mind. They have an idea. They want to get out in the world with their voice. Oh my gosh, the who will just keep you going, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So you have been doing this for 6 years. You're a young man. By the way, if you're not watching the video, when I sat with Chandler and his team in Philadelphia, okay, this is a little bit of vulnerability moment for you, Chandler. When I sat in Philly with your team and realized you were in 2018, you were like 26 years old, 25. Anyway, I was just blown away. And I would go to the breaks and I would look at some of the other people in the room and I go, I'm 52 years old. What the heck have I done with my life? He's doing all this at 20 something. So those of you who are listening, there's two dynamics to this. There's the really young person that thinks, well, it's too soon for me to pursue my dream.
Yep.
No, it's a lie. And then on the back end, for people older than me who get up against it and they're like, I have this dream, but it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
That's so great. It's such a great share. I appreciate you sharing that, Jeff. So there's a couple things I would say to that. And the first one would be, I mean, I think the comparison is the thief of joy, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can compare, and especially when it's a singular faceted comparison, right? Because there's a lot of ways in life that go back to that 2018. It's like there is a whole wheel of life of things that I could learn from you, Jeff. And so it's like, but in that moment, you're saying this specific skill set of running a business. And then we as humans extrapolate that to our life. And it's like, oh, yes. Well, what have I done with my life? And it's like, well, that just means that this person focused on this one area of life. And good news, if I focus on that one area of life, that means I can do that too. Because if he's doing that at 25, 26 years old, whatever I was at the time, well, then that good news, I'm going to live for more than 25 years probably. And he probably wasn't learning much about business from the age of 0 to 13. So we can just cut that out. So, okay, I can get to it some level of that within 12 years if I choose to, and all this. So that I think is the unifaceted kind of comparison. But then I think it's the, and I've got this quote in the new book. It's I don't think I'm going to be able to find it, but it's basically it's the quote of starting where you stand and with the tools that you have, and you'll find and create better tools along the way. And so I think that's the most important thing, is that you stop saying I can't, and you actually just make progress. And so whether it's writing a book, whether it's starting with your business, whether it's no matter what the thing is.
I find that I learn things when I need to learn them.
Yes.
I discover tools when I need to discover the tools. So you don't, again, this is like the MVP thing. You do not have to have everything figured out to get started.
Yes. And yeah, there it is. It's the Napoleon Hill quote. He says, "Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you have at your command, perhaps finding better tools as you go along." Right. And so I think the limiting belief is, hey, the timing isn't right, and the timing isn't right. Like you said, either I'm too old or I'm too young, but we've seen that with self-publishing school. I mean, we've had 6 and 8 year olds write books. We've had 70, 80, 90. I think somebody in their 90s was maybe our oldest student at self-publishing school. So it's like that runs the gamut and is proof that you're never too old.
I want to show something here for those of you who are on the video. I want to tell a story about this bad boy. This summer, I made a significant investment in a new trumpet because I wanted to get re-engaged in playing. I started when I was a kid. I've played through my adult years, but the last 5 years have been and I went to pick this up in Chicago, and as we're walking up with my wife, I said, I'm too old to do this. I should not have purchased this. And this guy is coming out from the guy that was selling me the trumpet, was giving a lesson to this 92-year-old man that flew up from Florida to take a trumpet lesson from this guy in Chicago. It's a great trumpet player. And I looked at Amy and I go, wow, 92. And he's been taking lessons for the last 4 years. He never picked up the horn until he was 86. So the point is, it's not too late for you to pursue your dream, and it's not too early for you to do it either. Yeah. It has nothing to do with age. It really doesn't. It has to do, if you have an idea that can make a difference in the world, you can pursue it. So I want to give you the last word here today. Those who are listening in, who are thinking about launching their book, publishing their book, or starting their new business, or whatever they're thinking about doing, what word of encouragement would you like to bring to them today? Yeah,
I would say the timing will never be right. You're going to have to get started before you're ready. And whether it's starting a business, whether it's writing a book, whatever that thing is, the timing will never be right. So you got to get started. And if you're writing a book, what I would encourage is a very specific way to get started is, as soon as you finish listening or watching this interview, I want you to grab a blank sheet of paper, put your book topic in the middle of the page, and set a timer for 15 minutes. So this topic that you might be thinking about writing about, and then take 15 minutes and write out everything you can think of on that topic. Stories that you have, lessons that you've learned, other books that you've written, ideas, etc. And just start with that. And you'll realize that you've got more that you can write about than you think, and you've got momentum. And so that's obviously very niche and specific to writing a book.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But that is the type of thing that I'm talking about, is, like you said, just in time learning. So don't listen to this and not do something with it. When you get off the interview, start with that. And then you'll make progress. And then you might say, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about this. And you'll learn a little bit more, and then you'll do a little bit more, and then you'll learn a little bit more, and you'll do a little bit more. And then next thing you know, you have a book done, or you've started a business, you got your first paying customers, whatever that looks like for you.
I love that. He's referring to the skill of mind mapping, and just start in the middle of the page and write the topic, and then just draw these lines off of it, and there'll be sublines, and just 15 minutes, you can be amazed at how much progress you can make on your book or your business as well.
Big time.
Very cool. Talk to us again about the book. I want to give you enough time here. You're right in the middle, as we're recording this, of relaunching this very, very successful book. And I would encourage it to anyone who's an entrepreneur, who has a dream, and especially to those aspiring authors who are listening today.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I'll give a link here in just a second. But basically, the book is, if you're watching the video version, you can see the cover here. It's published, The Proven Path from Blank Page to 10,000 Copies Sold. So this is the second edition, like I said, of it's my top selling book of all time. It's been downloaded and purchased 100,000 times at least, if not hundreds of thousands of times. And so that book has changed so many lives and help people publish books, but this book is even better. It's a second edition based on what we've learned publishing 6,000 books over the last.
You've learned so many things in the last 6
it's
years.
Crazy.
Man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the place to start if you're thinking about writing a book, or if you're writing a book, or you want to sell more copies of the book that you already have, or if you just know someone who's thinking about writing a book, then this be a good resource for them. So the book is called Publish. You can grab it on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. But also what I would say is I created a link. It's specific to this audience. Okay. So it's publishedbook.com/Jeff Meyer.
No, right? Come on.
So
it's put my name in there?
Yeah, it's your name in there. So you're going to have to know how to spell Jeff's name. But it's published book. So it's published like, the title of the book, like past tense, I published a book. So publishedbook.com/Jeff Meyer. And for those who don't know, it's Meyer. And so if you go there, basically there's a page, and the first 50 people that go to that link, you'll get a free physical copy of the book. And so this is not a shipping or whatever. This is, I will print it, pack it, ship it, everything to your door for free. You don't even have to put in a credit card. So that's for the first 50 people. So if that's something you're interested in, go to that link. It is publishedbook.com/Jeff Meyer.
Get the book, you guys. You'll be really blessed by it. Well, Chandler, I really appreciate the time you've given us today. You're a very, very busy man. A lot going on normally. One last thing. Yeah. I am always so appreciative on social media, on Facebook, when I see, I'm doing a little bit of a change of course here.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you the last word. Now I'm jumping in. When you publish your one sheet, your monthly goals, I love that so much. Tell me about, so go ahead, show that again. Just walk us through your December goals. You're right in the middle of the month.
Yeah, exactly. So at the time of recording this, we're in the middle of December. My number one goal is selling 4,000 copies of Published this month with 850 appointments. So these are people who book a call with us at Self-Publishing School from the book to talk about working with us. Then I've got hire VP of Marketing as number 2. I've got number 3 is creating personal and business goals for 2022. And then number 4 is read 4 books. So these are little goal sheets that we have at Self-Publishing School. Everyone on the team and staff and all that stuff, we do these every month. And so that just helps me focus on, hey, what do I need to do this month, this week, today?
Yeah.
To move towards my quarterly goals, my year goals, my bigger goals, all that stuff.
Notice how those are very specific. They're measurable.
Yep.
And also the other thing I want you to notice about Chandler is he's a ferocious, voracious, whatever adjective you want to use, reader. I mean, he reads so many books, and so he's a lifelong learner. He's always learning. So on your pursuit, keep learning, keep growing. Read the things that challenge you and sharpen your thinking, and then act on what you learn.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brother. Thank you for sharing that last piece. I wanted to mention it earlier and I forgot it. I'm glad I was able to get it in.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
You bet, brother. Blessings on the sale of your book, the launch of your published. Have fun with it. And blessings on the Self-Publishing School. And please greet all your teammates that would know me. Tell them that I still think fondly about my Philadelphia experience. It made a big difference in my life. So thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you, all Jeff.
Right. You bet. Have a great day.
You too. See ya.
Bye. Thanks so much for joining us today for another episode of Stop Doubting Your Dream. If you want to connect with Chandler, make sure you head to the show notes so you can check out his website, selfpublishing.com. Get in touch with him on Facebook or other social media platforms. If you love the show today, if you're listening on Apple, download it, scroll down in your app and leave a review. Your reviews and your downloads help others find the show. Next week on the show, we're going to show you the importance of choosing. Once the dream has emerged, every entrepreneur, creator, dreamer has a choice to make: act or defer. Well, look at where your dream's energy goes when you defer. And it's not a pretty picture. And we're going to look at that so that you will be motivated, instead of deferring, to choose action on your dream. So join me back here next week. And until then, the journey towards your dream begins today. Take action with a single step.